Yo, what it do? It's your boy J. Lou, and you are just in time for something new. Alright, now in today's video, what I'm going to be talking about is the difference between penetrating oils versus sealing oils. Now, I wanted to make this video just to clarify some things. As y'all can see, my oil in my hand is a penetrating oil. I stated that on one of the initial videos. This is castor oil. Castor oil is considered a sealing oil. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this video is I'm going to be addressing different kind of products, comparing them, like what's the difference between a moisturizer, what's the difference between an oil, what's the difference between a butter, pomade, all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, just to focus on oils, most people don't understand penetrating oils and sealing oils both can moisturize your hair. But what you guys need to understand is oils cannot hydrate your hair. If somebody is making a product and they're trying to tell you that their oil hydrates your hair, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just trying to tell you whatever you want to hear so they can get a sale from you, right? There's a lot of companies that do this. There's a lot of companies that they just don't know what they're talking about, right? At the end of the day, though, when it comes to oils moisturize. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm going to save that for the difference between a moisturizer versus an oil. But just to shed some light on that, the reason why I say that is your skin naturally produces oil itself. And if you guys have ever seen somebody that has a full head of hair, typically their hair may look dry or whatever the case is, right? And they may have to apply additional products to moisturize their hair or whatever. And they might rely on an oil. But if that person shaved their head, they gonna have a shiny bald milk dud, you know what I'm saying? So the reason why is because your skin naturally produces oils to help moisturize your skin. Now, if it does not produce enough sebum, which is the natural oil that coats your skin and everything else in your body, that may be because of diet, that may be because of stress, that may be because of medication that you're taking or whatever. But that's one reason why I always focus on a healthy, active lifestyle, so your body can basically be at the top peak performance to do all the necessary deeds that it needs to do. But when you get into the differences between a penetrating oil versus a sealing oil, the first difference is when it comes to the different hair porosities. If you do not know what your hair porosity is, I'll make sure I link a video right above here in regards to how to determine what your hair porosity is, what's the best test, some background information. I'm gonna also be making a little bit more detailed videos on porosity because I barely scratched the surface on porosities, you know, but you need to know what your hair porosity is. The main reason why I say that is because your hair porosity determines which oils you should look for. So many people in the wave game specifically always go around talking about,
oh man, do whatever works best for you. I know I use this oil, but do whatever works best for you.
And the reality is there are products made specifically for everybody, as long as you know what your hair type is, as long as you know what your porosity is, as long as you know what your curl type, density, all of that stuff, right? So to keep it short and concise, if you have low porosity hair, what you want to do is you want to look for penetrating oils, right? The main reason why I made my oil to be a penetrating oil is because I have low porosity hair. Low porosity hair is the hardest porosity to be able to get moisture into the hair cuticle. Now, at the end of the day, the reason why I went that route is not only for low porosity hair. If my oil works best for low porosity hair, that means it'll work for other porosities as well. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to porosity is just simply how your hair absorbs and retains moisture. So if it works for the hardest porosity to get moisture into the hair cuticle, it'll definitely work for a high porosity. But when it comes to the differences, the reason why somebody with high porosity should look for a sealing oil is because your hair loses moisture pretty fast. Now, when it comes to the LOC method, I'll make sure I link a video right above here of me explaining what the LOC method is. When it comes to the so many wavers think that, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get a penetrating oil, then I'm gonna get a sealing oil. That's not really what it should be about. whenever you're choosing a product, what you should do is choose a product that will help give your hair moisture, and then try to find the sealant. You do not need to look for a penetrating oil and then a sealant oil, because at the end of the day, the LOC is one product per letter. So to clarify that even more, because I have low porosity hair, I always use a leave-in conditioner or a moisturizer for my L, right? To give my hair the hydration that it needs. And then I'll follow it up with a penetrating oil. Now, the reason why I use a penetrating oil is because I want the oil to coat the hair as well as get into the hair cuticle. Moisturizers do not provide certain benefits that oils can. So when it comes to choosing your oil, I'm gonna use my oil, but I'm not gonna follow it up with a sealant oil, right? What I'm gonna use to seal my hair would be a butter or a cream. You know what I'm saying? That's if I go that route. Typically, a lot of the times I just will simply apply a little bit of butter into my hair just to act as the sealant, right? So therefore, I would look for a butter that would have the sealant properties. You don't want to use two oils, then you don't want to follow it up with a butter. That's using too much product. So one thing that you guys need to understand with high porosity hair, what you want to try to focus on is filling those voids. The reason why you have high porosity hair, it may be because of genetics, right? But at the same time, most likely is due to your hair being damaged. A lot of people don't understand that, and like I said, I'm gonna get into the details about that in a future video on porosities. But that's the reason why most people have high porosity hair, especially so many quote-unquote coarse hair waivers. I already made a video about the truth about coarse hair waivers. There's no such thing as a coarse hair waiver when it comes to the mindset that people are using it, right? So many people that think just because their hair is rough or they have very small waves, they think that,
oh well man, like I have coarse hair.
The reality is you don't. But another assumption or a myth or belief that people would have is typically people with coarse hair think that they have high porosity hair, when the reality is you guys have been told for years,
oh, because your hair is coarse, you need to use a hard brush.
I've also made a video in regards to how to properly use a hard brush. If you click on it right above here, it'll take you straight to that video. You guys are using hard brushes, and the hard brushes are damaging your hair structure, basically the hair cuticle, the structure of it, and it's making you more prone to be a high porosity waiver, right? So you guys would need to rely more on a sealant oil, because sealant oils typically have a lot more protein within them. When it comes to penetrating oils such as my oils, it doesn't have a lot of protein. Protein is actually one of the worst things that you can use in your hair if you are a person with low porosity hair, because your hair, the hair cuticle itself is compromised of 70% of keratin or more, like 70 to 80% of keratin, right? But whenever you start damaging that hair cuticle because of a hard brush or because of heat or all of this extra stuff, what tends to happen is that percentage of keratin in your hair structure goes down to maybe 60 to 55 or even 50, right? So therefore you have to fill up those voids with products that have protein in it. That's one reason why people with high porosity hair benefit way more from a protein treatment or using products like coconut oil, which is typically seen as a sealant oil. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, that's the surface level view in regards to the differences between a penetrating oil such as my oil. Actually, the 5 ingredients that I use are the lightest oils found on the market to be able to create the most penetrating oil that you probably ever use. There's a lot of people that have been using my oil and they've been telling me that their hair has been a lot more easier to detangle. One of the reasons why is because a penetrating oil gets into the hair cuticle and it provides that moisture. It provides all of the nutrients and the benefits that your hair needs, and oils will coat your hair to make your hair a lot more smoother. So typically, I probably don't even follow it up with a butter. I may just use a leave-in conditioner and then an oil, because whenever you're combing your hair, if you only use a leave-in conditioner, it's gonna lead to more snagging on your hair or whatever. But immediately once you use my oil, whether if you use a moisturizer before it or not, you will receive those benefits because of the properties in it. Now when it comes to sealant oils, y'all already know I've been doing product reviews, testing products for different people for years already. You know what I'm saying? I have not found not one single product on the market that has been able to help you detangle your hair as good as my oil. That's not me trying to promote it and make my product stand out better. That's just the simple facts, right? Because at the end of the day, the only reason why I made the oil, I saw that there was something on the market that was not being met. Nobody even focuses on this aspect when it comes to the hair because they don't even understand this stuff, especially in the wave game. Whenever you want to detangle your waves, whenever you want to get your waves to line up a lot better, you want to have a product that will get into the hair cuticle and soften it up and allow you to detangle your hair easier. You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately with connections, I'm going to do videos in the future breaking down connections and forks. I haven't really got into like a forks video explaining how people get forks and why they take so long to get pushed out, but that's something to consider when it comes to the oils. Now, you can use other penetrating oils on the market. You don't have to use mine. What I'm trying to get you to understand is penetrating oils will help you see benefits that a sealant oil won't be able to help you see. But at the same time, depending on the structure of your hair strand, you may need to use a sealant oil to prevent it from being compromised from further damage in the future. You know, so with that being said, hopefully this video helped answer a lot of questions as well as gave you guys a lot more insight in regards to how your hair works and what products you should look for, because I'm so sick and tired of people saying,
man, this is what works for me. You gotta find out what works for you.
That is caveman knowledge, because for years you guys have been given watered down, recycled information from people who don't know what they're talking about. So with that being said, if you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you learned something new, make sure you share this bad boy. You know, so with that being said, it's the Don signing out. Salute.
Now when it come to getting waves, they call me the Don. A light-skinned legend cause I shine like the sun. I brush them to the left, I brush them to the right. But if I had to talk down, I'ma knock them out of sight. Never chasing the bag, but I stay getting paid. And I don't need a do-rag to keep my waves laid.